throughout this week, I was struggling, to be honest. I had a to-do list of all these things that needed to get done in order to move forward with music medicine and everything that I'm offering. And my ego, or just like an inner child, just kept on lulling me into this like, oh, you don't really need to do that, or wouldn't you rather be doing this or that? Like, there's all these distractions or reasons to avoid the task at hand. And I would indulge in those suggestions and be like, oh, this is like what my current desire feels like doing, and I should follow my instincts. And it's kind of like this internal like sabotager that, again, just sees like a challenging task or something that feels a little daunting, and like it's a challenge, so it's gonna help me grow. And you know, going through that difficult thing will teach me something, and I'll get better at it. And it feels daunting because it's new and I'm unfamiliar and uncomfortable. And that's always a good thing, to always push ourselves to like the growth edge and put ourselves in those situations to confront something that we're not so great at and make a weakness a strength. But I have this tendency of just being lulled and kind of distracted and do all these other things that are in the short term feel good, but it doesn't create a long term benefit. And I was going throughout this week and indulging in this energy and just like having this like guilt or this weight on my shoulder of just like, man, like I could be doing more, but I just keep on giving into these like urges. So this morning I had a one-on-one with my mentor, and we did an exercise that basically breaks down, like you take one issue or problem and you do this process and it breaks it down into like a core fear. And the core fear for me that I identified was living a meaningless life. And I was like, that's very, very interesting. So I started thinking about having a meaningless life and how this habit of avoiding things and just giving into like instant gratification. Like I always want instant gratification, and if I put in some time and effort into something and don't instantly see the results I desire, then I'm like, oh, like I get so tripped out over it. I'm just like, oh, why isn't this working? Why isn't it working for me? How come this person could get all this success and I can't? And people, it's just like this really bizarre, like whiny child in my head that just like, I want instant gratification, like I want it to happen right now. And it just seeing it, okay, now I could see like how that feeds into this fear of having a meaningless life. It's because I know that I have this tendency to go for that short-term gratification. So like that's not going to be conducive to building a meaningful life. And because it's just like, to build a meaningless life, you got to make sacrifices in the moment and do it willingly and feel good about that. So then in the future, like it builds up in the for like future prospects. So I'm like, okay, cool. I sat down with that and just kind of mulled over it. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to a dance tonight, and I'm going to take this into the dance. And I kind of visualized like like my inner child being all fussy and being, like, want it now, I want it now, I want it now. And then I was imagining as an adult saying, okay, listen, we're going to teach you how to be patient. And, it's okay that you want it right now, but if you really want a bigger prize in the future, if you want your goals and your dreams to be a reality, then you have to temporarily give this instant gratification up. So I went into the dance and just had this like idea of like sacrifice. And I think it was like very synchronistic because it's Good Friday, which is, the day that Jesus was crucified and gave up his life to wash away the sins of humanity. And that's like in the Christian tradition. And regardless of how I feel about it, I think it just, even just the idea of the story is a really good example of sometimes people are willing to sacrifice things that seem really, really big because their vision for the future is that much more important, or it's a bigger payoff for the short-term sacrifice. So I went into the dance with this intention of thinking about sacrifice and just um, really bringing myself to a dance where I was, sweating and releasing. And I feel this is kind of like a tool that maybe is not um, openly recognized or utilized in the dance community. It's not very talked about, but you could take like an intention, bring it into the dance, and like the energy in your body, you could kind of feel where it is. And as you dance and you release the energy and sweat, you could feel that energy leaving your body. And after the dance, like I ended up, just having being very emotional about it and crying, and just crying because I recognized of like the pain of my inner child being told, hey, listen, like I know you want this thing right now, but you have to give that up for your future, and like just being present with the pain that my inner child was feeling, and just kind of soothing it and saying, hey, it's okay because this is for like the greater good. We're gonna have this better, much bigger, better thing in the future, but right now in this moment, like we have to give this up, and it's okay. And just being present and like aware and just really sticking that into like my essence, because it's one thing to just like think about it, but to really embody it in a dance and go through this entire process and really feel the emotion of it and have the visual like just have like the visual experience of being present with my inner child and seeing it hurt because it doesn't want to make this choice, but it's kind of soothing it and letting it know that in the grand scheme of things this is the right thing. And it was a really powerful experience for me, and I've done this a couple times, and I think it's one of the ways dance can be utilized to really clear some like negative energy around false beliefs or something that isn't serving me in the moment. And I went home and journaled and just kind of wrote what happened to really put that experience into like a physical manifestation that I could touch and like see and like read, and I could re-experience those emotions for like a later time where perhaps I am struggling with instant gratification and making that short-term sacrifice for the future. I could go back and read this and just be reminded and experience these feelings again. And yeah, so this is the type of work. So like I with music medicine and the offering that I have for the Sunday classes and the Wednesday classes, these are processes and things that I'm using in my everyday life, and I'm really excited to share it because I know how it works for me. And there's a part of me that's a little scared because it's taking this conscious dance idea, which is pretty foreign to a lot of people in general, but then introducing all these other elements, could seem kind of weird or foreign, but it works for me, and I'm very confident that it'll work for other people, and really excited to see how they experience it. So yeah, I just wanted to share that experience today. And if you want more information about Zoom classes online or live classes, my email will be in the description, and you can reach out to me on Facebook. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you soon.